Did the Johnny Depp trial change the course of cannibalism? Mercy is a foundational element of any healthy, tolerant community. It is a recognition of our shared fallibility. It is not atonement or the opposite of cancellation. It occupies the area between responsibility and forgiveness that offers the required room for a society to develop, interact, and show empathy. This breathing room was reduced by the partisan extreme of cancel culture, which also consigned many people who fell outside of the strict acceptance's linear sphere to the trash bin of history with little prospect of recovery. The cultural sphere has been more severely afflicted by this attitude of moral certainty than most. After all, celebrities is a different reality, and the online environment in which these celebrities live is bereft of the same friendly conversation that enables us to empathetically debate our differences in real life. You wouldn't go out if bars and public places were comment sections. It's quite difficult for two people to detest each other once they are in the same room, as playwright Danny Robbins recently remarked to me. When you get together and discuss things, you do feel that people's attitudes are less rigid than even they themselves imagined. It's really difficult to alter people's minds in 140 characters. However, when it came to culture, this kind-hearted quest for peace appeared to have not only been given up on but rather dangerously inverted. According to the Paranoids, a band from Los Angeles, I think a lot of the politics and bands in the US were sort of rooting for bands to fail and get cancelled a couple of years ago. I sincerely hope that time is past, since it seems like a very terrible way to cancel someone. In order to avoid turbulent waters, the hyperactive search through the archives to try to bring this band down had to come to an end. The fact that such a statement must be qualified with the warning not to get into turbulent water is a reflection of the current political situation. However, there appears to have been a more open discussion about cancel culture recently, including how to distinguish between extended condemnation and acts of charity. Perhaps some of this has to do with the idea that, following his public hearings with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp survived cancel culture, as was expressed in the comments area. Perhaps he changed the trend's direction with it. The behaviors that were made public throughout the trial were untidy and reprehensible, and they ought to have been far beyond the bounds of anyone's ideal ethical standards. Even the court proceedings themselves transformed justice into a public PR event that was celebrated on social media, where the dangers of the underlying discourse were publicly praised as top comments. However, a seed of kindness seems to have been planted somewhere amid this nettlesome enthrallment. Perhaps this is a result of how extensively it was covered. It encouraged them to engage in the complete discussion without raising their guard and drawing a line as they listened to the fine, mundane details of the case unfold. In the end, the fair application of law and order resulted in a verdict that even identified a gray area. In fact, Depp was cancelled before the trial. But after everything was said, he ultimately prevailed in a court of public opinion. By no means was he made up to be a saint, and he still needs to answer for his deeds. Previously, mercy was avoided in favor of a rigid moral viewpoint that allowed no room for the subtlety of detail in the realistic manner that life develops. This is where mercy enters the picture. When Depp went off the stand, I think he already won depending on his definition of victory, attorney Catherine Lizardo said of the trial. Once he delivered his story, he already obtained the favor of the court of public opinion. Once he narrated his story is the key phrase there. We had to hear the story in its entirety due to the trial's nature. It was far from a happy story, and linking it to the word winning strikes me as both unethical and disgusting. The information that came out regarding Depp and Heard was really troubling. I find it difficult to write about these extremely unsettling truths with the word mercy because I don't want to appear to be excusing their behavior. This is not true. Simply put, once all was revealed, you were able to explain how such a dangerous position came to be, which led to a certain amount of pity and, thus, mercy. This made it possible for us to distinguish between behaviors that are wholly unforgivable and those that reflect human nature gone wrong and are therefore excusable. The trial was instructive in this aspect because we were forced to confront the discomfort of accepting that bad behavior does not always indicate truly awful behavior. This realization opens up a space for compassion. No matter how poisonous the path that led there may have been, when we are given the opportunity to understand how the errors of our ways have come to pass, we can grow and develop as a society, and what at first seemed to be an impasse can become a signpost for positive change. This is the distinction between the arc of kindness, understanding, and redemption and the dead end of cancel culture. Justice is permitted to proceed without barriers being put up, which ends the bipartisan tug-of-war. As we go with the tide of emancipation and put an end to the loggerheads of stern certainty, it resolves the extremes of